So sorry, we are definitely not having a break yet. So there was a bit of a misunderstanding in the program. Please all take your seats again. And let us start one more time. Do not feel yet out for the break. I am sorry that there was a little bit of a disruption. I don't know how to bring attention. Please, can I have your attention? Please, can I ask for the attention? Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. So, going from changing the environment of critical technology and competitiveness, let's dive a little bit into what it also means for the worker, people at work, you know, the individual, and how it's basically that AI is changing the efficiency, but also many of the things on how we work and live today. And who better to do that than Angelique, the president of EMEA from Workday. This is a company that is changing how we are working, how we are stage. Angelique.
Everybody, I feel I'm a little bit between us and our coffee, right? But really appreciated the conversation we just had. So hopefully you have a couple of more minutes to inspire before the coffee and have a talk about that. But I feel there is so much going on in the world, and we are really in a very pivotal moment where also the technology, we already talked about that, like AI, is reshaping the world how we work, right? So I come from a more than 30 years business application software background, so focused on how software can help businesses and also public and private companies to get more efficient, to go faster. And I think when we talk about speed, that's exactly what we need, right? So as we are in a pivotal moment, I would say let's dream out loud a little bit more. And let's ask us the question, imagine where Europe and businesses can take the opportunities to innovate and grow faster than we do today. Imagine a future where innovation drives prosperity and workers have the skills to thrive. Imagine a world where AI is just not a concept, but a powerful tool to make everybody go faster and better. And we at Workday, we are a software company. We are American founded and American headquartered, but we are highly committed to work together with the European Union and the EU to comply with the GDPR and the EU AI Data Act, because we believe that Europe is leading the way in many of those dimensions. At the same time, global software and technology can really help to help businesses to go faster. So bringing the two together, I believe we can really take a very leap step forward. So we have three things we would like to encourage to consider. First one is, how can we help with AI adoption? The panel talked about that. How can we also help to leverage the best technology globally available? And also, how can we help with accelerating our skills and the changes we see and we need in everyday's work? And that is where we, from Workday, believe we can help the world. And then I think the next phase of transformation will be about business improvement and orchestrations. And we hear more and more about agents or the agentic AI, where they don't only perform a task, but they really help us to improve roles. So what we see coming is that we want to be a platform not only helping humans to be more productive and successful, but also helping to guide the digital human, the agent, right? Because think about how to onboard that digital
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm glad you're back from the coffee breaks. So an announcement before we start this session. It's a silent disco session, which means you're going to have to put the nice glowy headphones on your heads, and you're going to hear the entire session via the headphones. So please, those who are going to come up and be the speakers, don't please waste your time on the headphones. But if you're going to stay in this room, please put the headphones on. It's going to be a silent disco session. You can show with your thumb if you can hear me now through the... Perfect. OK, excellent. You understand the rules really well. But without any further ado, please let me invite our panelists on stage. And our panelists, you can sit under your picture. So please, Claire, Nicolas, Andrea, and Florica, join me on the stage. Yeah. Yes, Claire will be sitting next to me. Sorry. But OK, you can switch. Now I'm just going to call her Claire, and I'm going to call you Nicolas, if it's OK.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I was just joking. So the silent disco part is, since my voice is really loud, and so it wouldn't echo to the next room, we will keep quiet for a bit. And if you're vibing with what we say, you can also use some dance moves, because this is how the silent discos normally work. But for now, we're going to speak of the digital technologies and how they can advance the EU's green transitions. This is a topic which I believe requires no introduction. However, yesterday I was at another conference, and we were speaking of should the EU keep setting global standards in certain things. And I think the topic of sustainability is an excellent topic where the EU is indeed setting global standards. So there shouldn't be a question if somebody bullies us into reducing those standards, whether or not we should reduce them. I don't think we should. But the question is, what type of standards do we want to set? And today's discussion, since it's a Master of Digital, we look at how we can leverage new technologies, new digital services to help set those standards in the field of sustainability. And what role does the EU want to play globally in indeed setting the standards? So the question is whether we should or should not. The question is, how can we do so? So with me, I have an excellent panel today. Thank you so much for joining me. Since none of you need any recognition on this topic, I'm not going to deep dive into introductions, and I'm going to rather just jump into the discussion. And Florika, if I may start with you, I would normally ask, are sustainability goals aligning with economic growth? But I did some research on you, and I really love how you said that the EU has shown that we can successfully limit our environmental footprint while growing our economy. And I think this is the way how we should treat it. So I'm going to reverse the question a bit and ask you in a different way. How do you see that digital transformation is aligning with the EU's sustainability goals, not vice versa? So how the digital transformation aligns with the sustainability goals, particularly when we talk about fostering circular economies, water resilience, and what are some of the key milestones here?
Thank you, and first of all, thank you for being here. And I have to say, it's quite a cool view from here to see you all with the earphones. And I can say already there, the Commission as regulator, we are lagging behind, that's for sure. I mean, we are not on that, not too techy yet. But yesterday, when we had the award ceremony, the Secretary General, Cecilia, she said, show me your friends and I know who you are. The fact that I'm here and many other sustainability officers from private companies are here shows that, yes, we have to work together. You had the Green Deal last mandate, and it was all about green and digital. That sounds good, but I have to admit, I don't think we went very far. Now we try again under more competitiveness and also simplification, digitalization. Let me start what we had achieved. Of course, on the green transformation, we have gone very far, and we have the pathway on decarbonization, but also resource depletion. Now, under this mandate, it's much more about circularity, but circularity is basically about lowering your environmental footprint, your resource depletion, and look at not only bankable resources, but also things like water, which so far were not really bankable, or at least not seen as it, but not only just critical raw materials. We have used, and we do use, digital solutions. Think about Earth observation, satellite, Copernicus, Destination Earth, all of that we do. Even in my area, when we look at air quality, basin water quality, of course, we use digital solutions. But in my view, we haven't done enough, and that's where we now, when we have a focus under the Clean Industrial Deal, which will come out, but also on the competitive compass, very much on circularity, we have to bring the two communities much more together. And because what we have done so far is, I mean, the basics. It's a little bit more about like using sensors, using apps, informing citizen. And of course, that's very important because then you get the buy-in. But really working with public-private partnership, not so much. Under the simplification competitiveness agenda, I think there's a huge potential to really pull now the data sets that we have, and also in order to lower for member states, but also for SMEs and others, the reporting burden in particular. But there's a little bit a drawback. Often member states, they do not like necessarily only satellite images or sensors, and they say, it's not mine, even though they are super accurate and probably easy to take up. So there we have to find, as a regulator, a middle ground where we say, we pre-fill in certain data for you, and then you, of course, can verify, you can complement. But this is, I think, where we have to go in new regulation forms, the pre-filling of data, and using much more the digital data that is out there. Another part which I think we have not used enough and which is particularly important in the environment or climate field is using big data. Because in Europe, we are very rich in data sets in member states, we have agencies like the Environmental Agency, we have the Chemical Agency, we have many agencies, we have our research center. We do have data. But do we bring that together? And then do we analyze the data in order to see like what will be the trend? Where would we have to regulate or not regulate? This uptake of big data is, I think, at least in the environmental sphere, a little bit still in the infant shoes and could be done more.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. If I may just ask a follow-up question. You mentioned the reporting part and simplification. So in Estonia, which is one of the most digitalized countries in the world, we even realized that we asked from companies 420 different reports. And I'm not speaking environmental reports only, but in general, 420 different reports, which combined are 60,000 data sets. And then it turned out when we looked at each of those reports that 90% of the data is duplicated. So actually, we asked the same data all over and over again. So when the CSDD, the CSRD, so the different types of environmental reports came out from Europe, and then the company started to realize we have another 1,200 data sets that we need to submit. Then one of the biggest industry company owners in Estonia said, bring me this government official who negotiated this, and I want to see this person, you know, to my face and ask them, why did you do this? And of course, now when we asked about the simplification, and this is what also Ursula von der Leyen said, that the first thing where we need to cut off is specifically those sustainability reporting. Do you see it as a threat to achieving sustainability goals, or how do you perceive this?
Just to add on two things. I mean, we don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I mean, you want investment. If you want to investment, your shareholders want to know where they go. So you need a certain type of information. Of course, perhaps CSRD, if you look at the data set, is too much. I go back to my area, which I know better, which is environmental data. Yes, there's a lot of gold plating by member states when we go on regulations. We go for regulations. We want to look at the internal market. We don't even use anymore the environmental legal base. We use internal market legal base. And then in the co-decision process, everybody wants to gold plate. This little thing, because I want to make sure that my permitting process will fit. That is a problem. And there we also have to simplify. Now, speaking about permitting, for instance, the use data only once and bring it in once, the once only principle, is something which we really have to hammer down. And as I said, also we in our legislation have to see now where can we simplify. We have a, you talked about also circularity. We will have under the Clean Industrial Deal, the Compass, you will have heard already, we will go and look at the last bits that, like an omnibus, on what we can do under circularity in order to really advance well. And these elements have to come in. But not only that, they also have to be on procurement and on taxation. Because you can facilitate certain things.
100%, fully agree. Thank you so much. And I think, yeah, so the companies need to understand that sustainability is not a burden on them, or the green goals are not a burden on them, but they are an opportunity. And I think one of the voices, leading voices in Europe on this topic is actually Nicolas, who has said, and I also did some research on you, that the Green Deal remains the only viable growth strategy for Europe's future. And you are also, as I mentioned, one of the loudest voices saying that our clean goals must go hand in hand with digitalization. So I will jump into the question which I have for you, which is, what do you think are the barriers preventing digital technologies from making a larger impact on sustainability efforts in the EU? And how can we overcome those burdens?
First, let me say one thing for the previous discussion. Yeah. Tell these men in Estonia that use artificial intelligence to avoid this duplication and so on. It's a way to use artificial intelligence. I think that we are always saying the regulation. We need simplification, not the regulation. Yeah. And of course, we can use artificial intelligence to solve these problems, not only to use ChatGPT to something that is can do somebody else. So this is a way of solution for some administrative procedures. But
we need still proper data to use AI.
Of course, but you know, there is an opportunity, I guess, for artificial intelligence. Regarding the sustainability of the deployment of artificial intelligence, and also, of course, data centers that are one of the main points that I want to speak. It's true. we have a challenge. We need, of course, we need all this infrastructure to deploy artificial intelligence in Europe to be competitive at world level. But of course, we cannot undermine the Green Deal. That is the only way for Europe to be independent when it comes, for example, to energy. So we have to compatibilize the deployment, the big deployment needed for data centers and the use of energy and artificial intelligence with, of course, the needs that we have regarding the Green Deal and the deployment of new decarbonized energy. So how to do it? First, accomplish the deployment. I think that we need energy efficiency when it comes to data centers. It's absolutely needed. In the Energy Efficiency Directive, there are some provisions to do that. But we are also seeing and observing that more technology is needed in the deployment of data centers. For example, the use of all hard disk drive are still used in the deployment of data centers. We have to go for more efficient systems. But of course, we need also additional renewable or decarbonized energy to supply these data centers. And the location of the data centers cannot put pressure or more pressure in the grids, preventing that existing companies like energy-intensive industries have enough supply to their functioning. So we cannot damage one industry because we are implementing another one. So we have to be smart on that. And also to give confidence to the people, because the deployment of data centers should be linked to the energy production. We have to avoid to build new grid infrastructures that is absolutely needed for the energy transition to only transport electricity from one side to another. I give you one example. In Spain, the main expected deployment for data centers is in Madrid, in the center of the country. There are other examples that are not in Madrid, that are very smart examples. But in this case, a lot of deployment is expected there, a lot of requests for grids and the use of grids for data centers. But the energy produced in Spain is not in Madrid. It's produced 400, 500, 600 kilometers away. So this can cause also untrust for the people that they are seeing more and more renewables in their territory, but they don't have the advantage of have data centers and the digital infrastructure. So could be a not fair transition regarding the deployment of data centers. We have to defend this fair transition, this just transition, also in this deployment of data centers. To have people on board also to the digital transition at the time to the green transition. I think it's absolutely key to convince people, to engage people that this is for them and is also have also benefits for them in the energy prices, because you know, if we increase the amount of energy needed for data centers and we don't have enough additional electricity, we have to use the electricity for the domestic sector or the people in the industries, increasing the prices for households and for existing industries. And I think this is not a just deal for them. So I think that household won't have to pay the price for the deployment of data centers, and also when it comes to grid. So be smart on this deployment and go for a very just transition when it comes to the deployment of the use of artificial intelligence in energy.
Mm-hmm. And I think the next question, which I'm going to direct to Claire, already when you started speaking, then Claire was smiling a little bit, because I think AWS is really the perfect company to talk about the energy usage, water usage in data centers, right? And I also did some research, and I saw that AWS has committed to become, for instance, water positive by 2030, because one of the main resources that we use in data centers is actually water. And perhaps the environmental impact of this has been underestimated I mean, for you, AWS is clearly higher than a MIA water lead, so perhaps it's not undervalued at AWS, but I mean, as Amazon's EMEA water lead, I mean, this makes you an absolute expert on the topic. I would like to ask, so the servers, the use of energy, consumption of water, heavy industry that needs a lot of those resources, what steps are actually AWS and what you are taking in order to ensure this more sustainable use of water?
Yeah. Well, so probably can't speak particularly well to the energy side of the business.
Yeah, but
Amazon has committed to a water positive goal to return more water to our communities by 2030. We're currently 41% through that goal at the moment, and working towards, obviously, successful completion. When we look at scaling in a new region, we do risk assessments. We look at the catchment model, we look at oversubscription, we look at drought modelling, and we make an assessment based on what we believe is our business risk. And that informs our water strategy. Is the water supply limited because of availability and security issues? Or is it an infrastructure issue and a management issue? And that informs our strategy, and we work with our partners, our local partners, our state partners and governments, to work out what is the best solution to both enable our business need, but also to ensure that the critical infrastructure and the investment is there so that the communities are protected. We do this efficiently by our data centres have a very efficient cooling system. We effectively have our windows open and we bring the cold air in and exhaust it out warmer for most of the year. The challenge for us is when we do need to use water, it's not a huge amount of water, but it is in a critical period where everybody else also needs water. So our concerns and our discussions with governments and utilities and infrastructure investment is associated with resilient supply. So as water is a scarce resource and is becoming more challenging when it comes to scarcity, it's a partnership that's going to make data center scaling and the efficient use of water a success.
And you think it's doable? It's you can do it by 2030 if you're at 41% now.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We have an on-site efficient design, as I mentioned. We use 0.18 litres per kilowatt hour as our water use efficiency, and I believe that's one of the sector's leading indicators. We have off-site replenishment projects, which is our water positive goal, which is returning the more water than we use. And those off-site projects could be associated with water quality improvements, nature-based solutions for wetlands and storm retention. We have a project at the moment in Katrineholm where it's a flood alleviation scheme and a stormwater management. And we are partnering with the local utility and the local community to have a storm conveyance pipeline, a new wetland. So it's going to have material impact on risk for the community, water quality, biodiversity, and at the end of the day also have a public amenity for leisure and outdoor education. So there's a lot of benefits.
If I may ask just one brief follow-up question. If you go water positive by 2030, this is going beyond any regulation, right? So this is a commitment of the company itself. Is it driven by the asks or the need from your clients, or is it comes from top down from the company, or where did you get this goal of 2030 water positive? Just to be very curious, I've also worked in private sector, and pre-regulation era of sustainability, we were one of the first European tech companies to go sustainable. So where did this idea for AWS come from?
So I believe it was probably a combination of both. We have a very small water team in AWS, but we are all water sector experts and engineers. And from a company point of view we don't want to be negatively impacting the environments we're operating in. We do want to be seen as a contributor to the environment and the communities we're operating. And so a water positive solution, water is managed very locally and legislated very locally. So each different location we have has different constraints and challenges. So as a team, we want to be contributing to those solutions. But as a company, we also wanted to make sure that we were acting responsibly.
I think this is the way to go. And if you look at the world, well, definitely Europe for sure, then your consumers are not gonna anymore consume your brand, your technology, if you don't look at sustainability goals. It was different when I worked at Bolt, which is the Estonian technology company. When we asked our consumers back in 2020, so just before COVID, we asked them, would you use more sustainable products if offered? Then over 90% said yes. And when we asked them, but would you pay more money in order to use more sustainable products, then more than 90% said no. And I think this is different now. Even fast forward 5 years, people have taken it more to their consciousness. And this leads me to Andrea, actually. And I mean, your entire business model, the entire business model of Danfoss is you're an engineering company, actually. But you focus on energy efficiency, enhancing machine productivity, reducing emissions. So all of these things you actually do for the customers who clearly need to demand it, because even though regulation is maybe away at 2050, but they realize that they need to do something in order to become more efficient. And so maybe my question is, can you just briefly open what is it that your company is doing? And then in more details, what are some of the key factors that should be in place for digital technologies to be more effectively adopted? So how can you convince the consumers, the companies to use more these types of new technologies in order to become more efficient?
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, I have to say I'm really happy to see a full room on the topic of sustainability. That's really super encouraging. And it's also encouraging to speak about something else than just security and war and yeah.
Just don't read the news.
Just come with a positive message. And the message that we have here in this group, I think, is a positive one, because we do have the opportunities, the technologies, the possibilities to really contribute and to achieve those goals. And before I answer more specifically your question, I would just like to react to a few of things that were said beforehand on the reporting and on the complexity of the reporting, and also on what you were saying on double reporting and etc. I have to say, from the inside of a company, and Danfoss is a big company, we have over 40,000 employees worldwide, and alone in climate solutions, which is the part of the company I'm working for, we are over 10,000. So if you get those rules and you have to implement them in the company, it is a big, big effort. And you have to really adapt everything you do according to those rules, which is not straightforward. And I can just only imagine how difficult it must be for smaller companies who do not have the means and the resources to deploy that. So simplification there is for sure needed, but then it should not lead to rolling back on it as well. So that, to your point, I think the sustainability reporting in itself is the right way to go. And I think we have a real opportunity with digital solutions there as well, because with digital solutions and with software, you can also get quite a lot of those data. If I'm looking at our users, for example, if you have building software to optimize energy efficiency in buildings, then that software also collects data. And that data can be very important for a housing association, for example, etc., in order to perform their reporting. So there are opportunities there as well, I would say, that we see in this entire context. But
and it was mentioned by Florika also, a better use of this data, of the big data to analyze.
Exactly.
And I think
so
we are not there yet.
Reporting for the sake of reporting, but that you really use it also for optimization. So I think that one I wrote down, I wanted to say. And then on the data center discussion, you mentioned water as one of the important topics, but there is also, of course, the energy topic, which is a very important one. We just had a very, very brief discussion before that panel, and I think, and also looking at the different questions that come in here, I think, yes, the energy use for data centers is going to increase tremendously. But there is also an opportunity in that, because on the one hand side, there is a lot that can be done in terms of efficiency of the data centers themselves and of the cooling of the data centers themselves. And that also relates to water, by the way, because if you take liquid cooling, for example, that's a very good way to reduce the water use and to get away from cooling towers, etc. So there is an opportunity there. And then we have a massive opportunity with the recovery of waste heat from data centers because the servers, the cooling generate heat as well. And that heat can be recovered and then it can be fed into either a district energy network or to the buildings which are close to the data center. So and then benefit, and to our discussion just now, and then benefit the population as well. Because if I'm taking the example of our own company, and then I'll answer your question, of our own company, we have a data center where we recover the waste heat, and that's a very straightforward technology with heat recovery modules. And then we feed that waste heat, first of all, into our internal campus network, and there it is used to heat buildings. And then we feed it also into the district energy network, and there the houses around it, they benefit directly, and that has an impact on cost and on resilience and on energy security as such. And the same goes for supermarkets, for example. Supermarkets have a lot of waste heat. They can recover, they can use it themselves, or they can feed it into a network, district energy network or microgrid, which is just around them. So there are huge opportunities, I think, and those can be very much supported by digital technology. So now to your question. So Danfoss has, a little bit like AWS, we have own goals which go beyond legislation. So for example, we have committed to become carbon neutral in our own operations by 2030. And we do that, of course, it's the purpose of the company, as you were saying in your introduction, but it's also because it makes business sense. And if it
Which is the best combination. If anyone can combine those things, it's
but
the winning
I have
scheme.
to say, from a private sector perspective, if it doesn't make business sense, you don't do it.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So you need, we call it in Danfoss, we call it competitive decarbonization. And the twist here is really, and that's what we applied in our own operations and what we are applying in our own operations, is that all those solutions need to have a short payback. Otherwise, it doesn't take off. And in our case, most of the solutions have a payback, I don't know, of 3-4 years. So it's something which is very tangible for companies. And that kind of also drove us to make those commitments and to go further than what legislation is. And we think that this is something that can be definitely further deployed in the market as well. The difficulty, to your question on what are the barriers, the difficulty is to drive this message into the market and to make it understood by the communities, by the customers, as you were saying on water, for example. The same goes also for energy and energy efficiency. It's not necessarily seen, it's not necessarily understood, it's not known, there is not enough awareness. And then there is also a lack of collaboration. If I'm just coming back on the data center example, we saw that at one of our facilities ourselves. There was a data center close by producing waste heat, a district energy grid close by who could have taken that waste heat. It didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Because no incentive for the utility. Why would they take it? So then the data center said, why should I? So I think there are things in terms of cooperating between different stakeholders, bring different parties around the table to come to joint solutions, and those joint solutions need to make business sense. To come back on that one. Definitely, yeah.
Can I
Yeah, please, of course.
I agree in terms of sustainability needs and ecosystem-based thinking. You know, a data center is a business. It's there to make money for shareholders, etc. It's not necessarily a barrier, but if implementing waste heat recovery involves more carbon, more energy.
And that shouldn't be the case.
Overall, as an ecosystem for a community, it might be net positive. It might be a beneficial. But we don't yet have those systems-based thinking and incentivization and understanding in education that says, this is better for our community, and this is the impact for this entity, and this entity. And that's something that I think we're still evolving. It's an opportunity as we get more data, as we get more IoT and artificial intelligence. These sorts of things will start to become more visible.
And we have an opportunity as well with Energy Efficiency Directive, if it's properly implemented, with the heat planning, for example, because then at least you see where it's a starting point. You see where is heat available, like a data center, where is heat needed, and then that kind of triggers perhaps the dialogue also between the different stakeholders.
Well, we have had a lot of questions from the audience as well, but I'm going to do it vice versa now. I'm not going to yet ask this question from the audience. I'm going to ask a question from you. So we actually have a poll for you, which is related to the second question here, which is, which digital technology do you believe has the greatest potential to advance the EU sustainability agenda? It was discussed in basically all of the interventions, so feel free to scan the question and comment whether do you think it's AI, IoT, blockchain, big data and analytics, cloud computing, or any other. So which technology do you believe has the greatest potential to advance the EU sustainability agenda? All? You mentioned all?
All because all are the
That's a
same.
no-brainer in
I
a
mean,
way.
all are the same part of the same.
Honestly, it's a no-brainer. We're already using a lot on the Internet of Things, but we have to now combine it.
Use
I mean, you have to do both.
Yeah.
All of that.
Internet of Things without cloud.
Yeah, exactly.
without
Absolutely.
data.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, others are missing.
So we have to diversify. I mean, we have to look at whatever is the specific type of technology that works for your solutions. And you have to have the companies which understand how to use those technologies, right? I mean, you also mentioned earlier that AI can help you do this reporting, but if you don't have the basic data correct and right, then AI is going to only generate the wrong reports for you. If
But
the
also
basis is
AI can help you in order to tell you where is the existing data, and you can improve the quality of data.
Absolutely.
Can
And
I just quickly,
Yeah.
in terms of sustainability and the data, or the digital sector, I was talking with a colleague earlier, and she very clearly broke it down for me, which made sense, is there is off-site or the cloud infrastructure. So that is, how do we build the infrastructure to deliver digitization? Then there's the in the cloud solutions, is how do we build the software and the systems and the mechanisms to make sure we're using those resources efficiently. And then there's the enhancement or the enablement of through the cloud. How do we then apply that to get those benefits? And I think certainly in this sustainability space is getting the data center, getting the data center industry designing sustainably and considerately, understanding our software and how we then build in the cloud to enable and deliver those sustainability benefits also talks to the sustainable economy in energy, in carbon, in water. Data enables better decision making.
Yep. And I see this also, the audience thinks the same way. Data enables better decision making, and big data and analytics are seen as the main things. We discussed here consumer demand, we discussed here using technologies, and I will now go back to Florica and ask the role of the legislation. Energy efficiency directive was mentioned here, but the things that you also mentioned in your first intervention, such as the water resilience strategy, the new one, and the clean industrial deal even, how can they work together and actually address the EU's competitiveness question while focusing on the sustainability aspect? And this round of interventions, I would ask you to keep shorter so we can ask everyone one more question. Yeah.
But I would like to link one of these issues with what was just said on
For sure,
water.
yeah.
Because the water resilience strategy will not be legislation. We have the best acquis on water legislation in the world, which is actually copied by many big powers, actually. Just to say,
EU standard setting.
We are not doing that.
Yeah.
But what we are realizing, you were talking about energy. On energy and renewables, we only learned the hard lesson after the Ukraine invasion, or invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And then we scaled up and we did a lot. But here on water, we will face scarcity. And it's water stresses that are coming. And when you have drought, you also have flash floods and everything else. So on water, we wanted to anticipate because we still have time for it. And therefore, this water resilience strategy is not just, it's mainly about awareness raising, but then really going, where does the innovation has to go? Where does the investment has to go? Because we will team up with the EIB. We will promote the water efficiency first principle. We have things which are important for digital companies, like from lab to fab. Yes, all of this will be in. But when we look at the uptake of digital, we already have that, and we should do that much more. It's a question also of money, of smart meters, smart membranes, smart cleaning systems, smart pumps, whatever you call it. There are to identify leakages, which is huge in the European Union. And it's not just south, it's also north. We have a problem on groundwater, not enough groundwater in the north. It's not just in the south. So we need to collectively look at it, and that's what the water resilience strategy wants to promote. But when I look now at the opportunities, going back on the data center, and one of the questions before was, it was on carbon footprint, but it's also on the use of resources. And water is one of the very, very scarce resources that we will see coming. And it is for the consumer, the citizen, it is for large parts of industries, food industry, tourism, everything else. But it's also for energy, cooling of nuclear plants, but also if we have more uptake of data, which is we should have, then we will need more water for cooling. I very much agree with, we look for much smarter solutions than that. We also have to look at how to use the water that we have. We have the clean water, we have the grey water, we have the green water, which is the forest, the wetlands, the peatlands, everything that retains water and makes sure that we have a cycle of precipitation. So the green water, the blue water, is very precious. And any industry can invest into that as well, with nature credits, for instance. But you should also look at the grey water, and then we have black water. But the grey water, because there is potential to clean up and you reuse it. And the reuse of water will be a big, big issue for us, even looking at desalination and other things. So for us, when we want to continue on the green transition, knowing that one of the key resources that anybody will have to have, no matter what sector you are in, we have to anticipate on water scarcity. And that's one of the issues. But there, I'm also very much banking on industry, because we want to really spur the uptake and the use of very smart industries in Europe. We have very actually we have leaders in water technology, often simple things, more mechanic, and sometimes very much on high digital systems. And that we need to scale up. And this is why there is also an investment part. But we have to be also looking what will be the next challenges, not just what we are facing now. How can we anticipate what innovation do we need? And I very much agree with what Andrea said. Cooling, go for different types of cooling. Water cannot be used for cooling. It's far too scarce, but also might be very expensive. And we don't want to have this distribution conflicts, which inevitably will come. Does it go first to the citizen, the farmers, because we need food, for certain types of industry, for the data industry? So we need to anticipate that, and therefore look as a whole society, whole governance approach. And that we will look also in our legislation.
So beyond the strategy and the legislation, we need infrastructure and financing in order to use the water better as a resource. So Nicolas, how can the European policy in the future ensure that when it comes to water management, actually we have the proper financing and infrastructure for it?
First, planning is very important. You know, all the data centers deployment should be also included into the spatial planning and the planning, water planning, on local municipalities, also regional, but also national and EU level. We have to know very well what is really happening with the use of water consumption in data centers and artificial intelligence. And also we need, I think, the harmonized standards, implement EU-wide standards that are also comprehensive and attractive for business. You mentioned that you have your own objectives. Cannot be probably the same standard for everybody, but we have to work towards a new standards. I think there are also initiatives, pilot projects like the green algorithms, that we can also have labels for artificial intelligence saying which artificial intelligence has more, not only energy efficiency, also water use, efficient use of water. And of course, we need support for innovation. In Europe, it's clear that others are putting a lot of money in the deployment of this digital infrastructure. We need more support, we need clear support. And we need, of course, if we want to be champions of something, we have to be champions in budget. And the European budget should be at the level of the challenge that we are facing. Because we are speaking all the day about defense or security, but there will be not security. We don't have this kind of deployment of technologies or the use of energy or the use of water, because the scarcity of water is also a problem of security. So we had to be smart in order that this is a great challenge for Europe, to have a good budget and enough budget for all the challenges we have.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being concise. So budget is one of the constraints. Planning is one of the approaches how to handle it. Claire, what other constraints perhaps you see for proper water management, secure water management in Europe?
So I would probably build on that a little bit. We've got budgets and we've got planning.
Yeah.
We also need mechanisms to enable public-private partnerships. That is one way that responsible companies can contribute to resolving the problems. At the moment, I don't feel as though that's something that is easily accessible, readily to go, let's go and do it. It's something that still takes quite a lot of resources and time before we get to the delivery.
Well, when I was thinking about budget, I was not thinking in Amazon. You have enough for yourself. You don't need public money. I mean, to be honest, I have to say.
Thank you. So time is running relentlessly, unfortunately. But Andrea, so you heard all of those things regarding constraints to water management or how to improve the water management. How can digital solutions contribute there? Generally, we spoke about digital solutions when it comes to, in general, sustainability. But when it comes to specifically water management, what does your company see? What are some of the solutions there?
But I think it's very much also about monitoring and about it comes back to what we said earlier. I think I can be very concise here.
Yeah.
We were saying you make informed decisions when you have the data available, and if you want to have the data available on water management, then you need to have the sensors in place, you need to have the monitoring in place. So then collect those data and then don't put them in a drawer, but actually do something with it. And that's maybe a general point also, if I link it back to the energy context and again to the Energy Efficiency Directive as well. We have energy audits, for example, and unfortunately there is data available then and information available, but there is no obligation, no incentive to act unless it makes unless the business case is very clear, then people will act. But then they will act anyway. They don't need an audit. So I think there needs to be a driver and an incentive to first of all collect the data and then also to
properly use it
with the data.
Okay, so we're running out of time, or we are out of time. So one last question for each one of you, which I ask you to answer in one sentence. So I started this discussion by saying that Europe should absolutely set the standards, and I think we are the third biggest single market in the world, and we are the area which, when it comes to sustainability, knows what we have to do. So what do you think is one mistake that Europe cannot do? So normally you ask people, what should Europe do? I'm going to ask you the other way. What is one mistake we cannot afford when we are now setting this Green Deal, sustainability goals, and these standards globally? Whoever wants to go first.
I can go first, because it's going backwards on what we have achieved, going backwards on the Green Deal, going backwards on the green transition, or whether you call it economic transition, but going backwards, that would be really very bad.
Perfect. I think it's absolutely right. We cannot give up to bullies. Thank you. Who wants to go next?
For the order.
Please, yes.
Okay. For me, it's very important to continue to ensure that the Green Deal is going to happen. Not stepping back in all the measures. Don't open the taxonomy, please, Commission. Don't break the standards that we set. Don't use the omnibus to undermine the green agenda. It's a clear and concise message.
Yes, messaging is important. Let's not go back and let's be clear in our messaging. Claire?
I would say not to miss the opportunity to simplify, is making sure that the reporting needs are exactly what we need to report to enable smart decisions.
So people don't see it as a burden, but an opportunity.
Correct.
Yes. And Andrea, you have the finishing
It's
word.
very similar. Don't overcomplicate.
Don't overcomplicate. Yeah. Okay, so everyone in this room realizes you cannot go back on Green Deal. We have to focus on the sustainability and agenda. We have to be clear in our messaging. And let's not overcomplicate this topic. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hallo, welkom op deze prachtige avond. Hey, hey, hallo, tsa. Hey, hey, tsa. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Dus als je nu... dat is de enige die ik er niet heb ingestoken natuurlijk. 14. Dus ik ga daar nu een heel klein beetje reverb op steken. Dat is echt niet veel, hè. Maar als je niks hebt... Echt, hè? Ik zal hem eens uitzetten. Zeker met die headsetjes klinkt dat raar, omdat dat te dicht bij je mond zit. En er zit dus niks op van ruimte. Dus dan steek ik er een heel klein beetje reverb op. Maar dat is echt niet veel, zo. Als je dan is dat niet... Het is niet dat het storend is, maar je hebt niet het gevoel dat je zo in een bokaal zit, hè. Dat is waar dat je...
So, hello everybody. It's very nice to see you. I'm Doris Põld, CEO of ITL Estonia, IT Association. But today, my role is super easy, I think, because I have great panelists, and just to lead the conversation. And in order to do that in the best way and not to disturb the other panels, what's going around, my first question or ask for you is that please use the headphones. We will silent down a little bit, so we are like in the silent disco move. And if anyone hears the music there, then be free and dance. But I hope that you will hear us and our discussion there. So, further ado, I would like to invite our panelists to the stage so we can go on already with the discussion. All panelists, please, come to the stage. Yeah, that's the right thing.
Yeah, I need to sit here.
Okay, everybody's in the place. So thank you for all you coming. So as I said, I tried to challenge you here a little bit today that to speak about health and how digitalization can transform the health. We already heard before the lunch in the panel, was said in the AI panel that the area where the thinking that the technology will affect the most in the future is the healthcare.
Is health, yeah.
They said it already out, so I don't know, can we conclude now? Done. Or let's see what we have thinkings there, or let's challenge more, but what are the practical things what we can do. But before we go into the questions to you, I have one question also to the audience. And this question will be on the screen. I hope that you all will answer that. It's not a super easy question, but it's with answers, your possibilities for you.
Yeah.
So please use it, use the QR code, and answer to the question. I promise that afterwards we come back to that question in order to ask it already reflections from our panelists here. Because I think that it's quite interesting what will come out from there, that what is our challenge and what is holding us back there. But yeah, I hope everybody can answer. And right now I would like to go then start the discussion, and maybe we can let's start with easy questions, let's say in this way, for the beginning. And my first question would be maybe for you, Sandra, as you are responsible of food and health safety in the EU. And taking that into consideration, what do you see as the most promising innovations that digitalization can bring to the healthcare?
Yeah. Thank you, and I'm sitting next to a former commissioner who was much more responsible than I am for health. So, and now, you know, an MEP that we hope is going to help us in this battle.
Yes.
So, let me say to you, you were saying, yes, people think they are affected in health more than most for digitalization. And I would say the second question is how? And so you rightly asked, are there innovations? Well, you know, the first innovation that is very clear to us all is AI-powered diagnostics. I'm reading every week new articles about this. You can enhance diagnostics in many ways across many medical fields. Suffice for us to have doctors and medics that want that, because that is also a challenge to have them expecting them. You know, AI is trained on vast masses of data, so obviously it can be of help. I will only quote a study that I just read a few days ago. In Sweden, they have, I would say, a chance of detecting 20% more breast cancers through AI than going simply with a diagnostic with the doctor. So these are numbers. The second thing that is interesting, and we need to be ready for that, is the twins, the digital twins. You should have a digital twin. You should have something that somehow profiles you with all your genetic but also clinical and lifestyle bits and pieces. And on that, many doctors are banking that you can have your own personalized therapies tested first and being even more effective when they are applied to you. Here, I would like to say that we discovered that many of the pharma companies, 85% of them, are playing this game. They want to have this sort of digital twin. I would like to say that with the EHDS, we are helping pharmaceutical companies a lot, and we would like to have a renvoi d'ascenseur in the pharma review, if I may, so that, you know, at the end of the day, we gave you the access to the data, but you help us have more, I would say, affordability, if I can use that term here. Now, there is a third thing that is very important, but there it's a bit already going on, is the real-time monitoring of patients. You know, you have these healthcare ecosystems where, you know, a patient goes out, has a machine, is being monitored all the time. This will be in the future even, I would say, more important. Today is for 30% of the chronic conditions, but of course the sky is the limit for this. And I would like to say that all those wearable devices that even ourselves have, even if we need to say the diagnosis is only a doctor that can give you, it's very useful to have for fibrillation. My partner had very serious heart problems, and having something that tells you your heart is going bonkers, it's not totally, I would say, bad. So I would say you have asked me about the innovations. You don't want to know about the challenges, do you? Because the challenges we are already seeing. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Let's keep the positive side right now. And
positive side, I'm very optimistic that we will change the way we deliver treatments through this big thing that is the digitalization.
Okay, and I think it's excellent to go on here with tennis. You already, like Sandra introduced you already, that like a former EU Commissioner of Health, and listening right now what Sandra is saying about the innovations. And what do you think? What in the policy-wise should be done in order to make these innovations really into practice? Yeah, I start with the easy ones.
First of all, I will take your final sentence. We should deliver.
We should deliver, yeah.
Should deliver.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
It sounds very encouraging to all of us. We should deliver.
Yeah.
And it is time to say that it's up to us to join our forces, to create powerful teams, to invite much more actors, to have multidimensional and multi-sectorial cooperation together. Yeah. Otherwise, we will see a lot of challenges which are here on this screen. You know, lack of interoperability across member states. We should deliver. We should raise questions about necessity to cooperate, to strengthen their cooperation. Can you imagine how it was difficult to realize, that we proposed on voluntary basis to establish European reference networks for rare diseases, low prevalence diseases, and multi-complex diseases. Yeah. Yeah. It's a big segment in the EU. 35 million people, especially children and adolescents, are suffering now from genetically determined and different types of rare diseases. And then low prevalent, of course, rare cancers. And when I proposed to establish a reference network, appetite to cooperate in 2015 was very low one. Why? Can you tell me why? Now I was speaking about, because in all our minds it's strange old idea. It is national competence. It's
not very strange.
Don't touch interoperability because it's national competence.
So that should be the policymakers' priority, as I understand.
It's when I am very practical. I am cardio-surgeon. I don't like word politics. I don't know what does it mean. I am medical doctor. I was commissioner, and I delivered. Yeah. And now we have excellent opportunity to use European reference networks. It's excellent pan-European infrastructure. 1,600 university hospitals are united, all, of course, with IT tools. Because those platforms create possibility not to patient go into the diagnostic center, but diagnosis follows patients where they are on the ground. And it is, of course, you just raised question about how can we improve with digital accessibility, no doubt. Patient data protection, no doubt. Trust is must. And here, all attacks on hospitals, stealing data, create a lot of distrust in our societies. And why we are just speaking about cyber security of hospitals, about security of those infrastructures, digital infrastructure, because it can diminish trust. And then without trust, you have no chance to encourage patients to follow advices and to see, to connect your primary practitioners or specialist treatment, entities, and to see how can you, And trust now is up to us to say. And of course, inequalities. Now we see literacy, problems with digital literacy, those are very big ones. When we are in our such bubble, you all are know better as me because you all are equipped with IT knowledge. But when you look into territories, especially in underdeveloped territories, you can find medical deserts, and also you can find digital deserts. Can I tell you? It was for me very strange. When I traveled from Brussels to Strasbourg, when you are going through Belgium, Luxembourg, and crossing French borders, no access to phone call because it's it. And then you see 3G, 4G, 5G. And this is now reality. Where we are staying on the ground. It's about our possibilities to extend and expand capacities in digital and access to digital, but without digital infrastructure, without possibilities to invest into digital infrastructure, especially now in our times when we are facing a lot of challenges, crime and so on. It is so important once again to understand. And of course, finally, it creates a lot of problems with possibilities to deliver treatment to people. Because treatment now requires a lot of IT, capacities. Starting with diagnosis, it's like screening, scanning, and so on. We have no chance to move forward. But it's up to us now to say, I can. Later, I can tell you, I have one big idea.
Sorry to interrupt you for a moment, because otherwise, our time is ruthless there. But I liked very much your analogy about the desert, that we have a health desert and digital desert. And going on here with the private sector side, then, how we can go over of that desert, that what kind of technologies how do you see that technologies will this kind of affect the future health scheme in Europe?
Yeah. That's a brilliant question, and I'm happy that I have heard many of the most important words that are also relevant as technology and digitalization, AI. But maybe I'll step one step behind and first of all saying I'm happy to be here and representing the medtech industry from healthcare, because most of the time we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about pharma, which is as important as medtech, but we are not really talking about screening, therapy, and all the devices that are also relevant. And this is one of the biggest topics that we are having right now in the world. And it's not about creating fear here, but if we consider the numbers of staff shortage that we will be seeing in the upcoming years, that's a tremendous topic that we are having right now, that we are seeing in Europe. Right now, I think we have like 1.3 million workforce missing in Europe, and the WHO predicts that it will get to 11 million in the world, but in Europe 4 million. And that means someone of us or someone of our relatives being in a clinic will not be having a skilled person to treat them or to have the diagnostic or to take care of them. And it's not so far away. So we have to be conscious that the medtech is something which is important, and staff shortage in this area, it's a huge topic that we are addressing. And what I see that we can bring a solution is definitely with digitalization and with AI. And I give you an example to be concrete. So for those of you who don't know, when we talk about MRI or MRT, I call it always it's the do not that is making some noise when you get inside to get a picture in order to get a diagnosis. Then we used to have a program which takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on the diagnosis that you want to have. Let's talk about the knee, for example, and it's like 10 minutes. And now through AI, with a program that is called Deep Resolve, we are able to make it in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That means for the professionals, they can see more patients. And for the patient, it's more easy to get this kind of diagnosis. And that's a concrete example where AI can help us solve the topic of staff shortage, and which can also maybe fill this desert from the digitalization point of view.
Thank you,
as
Amira.
one example.
Yeah. As I promised that we try to keep the discussion in the positive side, then approaching to you, Alexander, but what do you think? Do we have any places where we can say right now that here Europe standouts, excel in matter of healthcare, in the healthcare when we think and using of technologies?
Sure, and also very happy to be here and making the bridge between here the other panelists. I'll represent a pharma company, Bristol Myers Squibb, and I'm a physician myself and an academic, so I bring the world of view from those different angles, and Europe has an incredible foundation. Right, and that foundation is based on world-class institutions, is based on the ability to have digitalization from every single of the members, and the fact there's a commitment to universal care. So with those pillars, there's an incredible foundation to be a source of diversity in the AI databases, and also with the AI Act and with the European Health Data Space is creating the infrastructure to move to excellence with cybersecurity and with confidence. So when we think about that context, it looks like that the foundation is there. So how do we excel from that in Europe? I think the audience pinpointed to that, right? It's a fantastic help. And Amira also mentioned the interoperability issue. It's a key one. And we live through that pain. And when I say we, I also talk as a patient. Right? We live through that pain if we are in one state member and then we go from Portugal to Spain or from Spain to France and whatsoever. So that's really a key one. And when we think about the opportunity for innovation and from the global footprint as the company that I represent, that is really something that it really needs to be there because the opportunity is global and broad. So that's what I would like to see next.
Okay. So I have a secret to tell you. Actually, our panelists, they already see the answers of the poll, what you answered. But I think now it's the right time to put it also to the screen and that you can see what
was a big competition
and what they mentioned already here, some of what we see, what you said, what is the main challenge. And it was many times said out already that the lack of interoperability across the member states. Coming from Estonia, I totally understand it. Practical example. We have a digital prescription, and I can, with my digital prescription, buy also medicine from Finland, cross-borderly, from Portugal. But I can't have my medicine in Brussels. So when something happens, I can call to my doctor. I can ask for the prescription, but I can nothing to do with it here. So this is the lack of interoperability, definitely, that I'm a European citizen. Why can't I have it wherever? I think. But with other topics here, it's quite, let's say, tie. We see that the concerns about data privacy, security issues. So I think it's something what you mentioned already, that is trust.
Yeah. Trust. Yep.
Is anyone wants to comment it here more, what you say?
You know, I will comment from a different angle. You know, in 2016, we started this pilot project about e-prescription between Tallinn and Helsinki.
Yeah.
It was European Commission pilot project.
And I love it now.
Yeah. And we see we achieved something. But how many years it takes?
Exactly.
And our second pilot project was the exchange of patient records between Luxembourg and Czech Republic. We decided to see much broader distance because, you know, 40 kilometers from Tallinn to Helsinki, it's not the problem. But from Luxembourg to Prague is, and we delivered also possibilities to see how are we capable to guarantee exchange of patient records. Now you see that we are in problems with a much broader problem. But you just rightly mentioned situation. Lack of investments at member states level, lack of understanding about necessity to use different tools which are now in our hands. Speaking about statistics, because we need to understand, we need to have statistics, we need to have data, we need to have, possibilities to notifying bodies can provide to industry, right to access their market, but mutual recognition, very simple word. Yeah. Very simple instrument. We need to send message to all 27 governments and parliaments. Mutual recognition. Possibilities to them, especially if we are so capable to see you are very lucky now to use e-prescription from Brussels till Tallinn, I don't know.
No.
No.
Not in Brussels, so not
shame on us. Shame on us. From 2015 till 2025. Colleagues, 10 years. And we are in the same situation.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely right. I'm also reminding you that you can ask questions from our dear panelists. So afterwards, we see what are the questions also from the audience. So from Slido, you can ask. But
I would like to maybe add one comment also, because it's a difficult question and it depends on the perspective. Where are you looking at it? And even though the last answer was about investment in the infrastructure, I would assume that all the other aspects will only happen if we invest enough in the infrastructure. And talking about like EHDS, if we really implement it the right way and we invest enough so it's done in a seamless way, then we will get to interoperability. So I think we should not underestimate that everyone or every country, the Europe has to invest, in my opinion, definitely more in the infrastructure, at least from the medtech and from the industry perspective. That will not happen just because we say we need to do it. We have to invest in it.
Amira, you brought out a very good point, actually, on the topic of European health data space.
But may I stress one important point here. In Lisbon Treaty, you can't find no one word about digital. You can't find. In Lisbon Treaty, can you imagine? It was adopted in 2008, and please read Lisbon Treaty. No one word. But we are speaking about digital union. Because now it means that we are just speaking about possibilities of shared competences in this field. Why I'm arguing about necessity to revise Lisbon Treaty? Because we need to have shared competence in digital and to include digital in Lisbon Treaty and to create much bigger, much stronger European Union entity. We can compete globally. We can be leaders in this very difficult time. But it's up to us now to encourage all of us to understand what can we do now immediately. Otherwise, you will see a lot of differences between different member states. Shared competences. Shared ones, once again. When I'm speaking of food safety, we have shared competences. When you're speaking healthcare, completely banned.
Thank you, Fitnelis. Very, very passionate and I think right to the point. But I would like to come back to you already mentioned European health data space, and Sandra, to you with that question that right now, like European health data space soon entering into force, and what you see, like what needs to be done and what are the key steps to ensure that this.
So let me reply to your problem in terms of why you can't use the electronic, I would say, recipe. I will be very frank with you. We have, by the end of this year, we will have 20 member states. So there are 20 member states where you could already use that. We have been working quite a lot on this. So I must say My Health at EU is, I would say, the primary use. And then there is Health at EU is the secondary use. So these things we have already in some member states, they are already using it. So We hope that Belgium will soon join. The usual problem is that they went ahead on their own system, so it's always very difficult to revert to a European system because, you know, it's quite demanding. Now, a few things that I want to say that we are trying to do with more than 20 delegated acts, because, you know, the Parliament approved 2 weeks ago the piece of legislation. It will be published on the official journal on the 5th of March for anyone who wants to have the read of the final product, but I'm sure that you have read it several times already in all the websites that we have. So I must say that the questions were a bit giving already an indication. Myself, I voted for the investment. If you want to know, my personal choice was that we do not have sufficient investment. We do not have the money. We do not have the European money. I want to be very clear, especially in front of a member of parliament. We have to depend on DG Connect. That gives us a bit of money. DG Connect, Roberto Viola is my best friend. We basically work hand in hand. Many of these ideas that we have worked on them not just together, but you should see we just had a meeting this week on a specific topic of the influence of social media on, let's say, specifically adolescents and kids. So for him, big praise, because he's giving me a bit of money, but it's not enough. It's not enough. So fragmentation. That's the first thing that is afflicting us, and we need to remove that fragmentation. We hope that little by little, with what we are doing, we will have the ability to have a better situation. There will still be a hospital in one country next to another hospital, still in the same country, that will not be able to communicate, because this is one of the challenges. You come from Estonia. This is not understandable to you. Estonia, by the way, is one of the champions in the council for the EHDS. You were always very, very supportive. We thank you from our heart. Also in the moments when there was big issues concerning the trust, because that is an element that is back there. There's a second element that is complicated, and we will need to fix it through our legislation, which is going to be tertiary legislation, but it's already included in the primary legislation. It's the bias in data sets. Data sets tend to be very biased, and the lack of non-diverse data, stultifies all your research. If you don't have good data that are diverse, that give you a diversity in population, well, then you are stuck. I would say that Europe has a real advantage, because we have quite a diverse, I would say, diverse population demographics, so we should be able to make good of that. I would say that it is clear that by ensuring that there is a seamless connection, this thing of the differentiated data sets should be resolved. We have also another thing that blights all of you as patients, is the repetition of tests. And the repetition of tests is exactly because there isn't enough communication. So you go to the doctor and it says, well, okay, we need to do again this test, which is quite pathetic also for the coffers of the state, because it's quite expensive. We're talking about a big bulk of analysis that should not be repeated. I will not mention numbers because they are atrocious, and they depend a bit on the different traditions in the member states. I think that it's extremely important that we also imagine a world where the research and the breakthroughs will happen thanks to the innovation in AI. And here I want to mention my own experience. My own experience was that during COVID, I will not mention the name of the drug, but we had devised through AI a drug that was equivalent to another drug. But the other drug, I would say, the drug that we had devised digitally cost 25 euros. The other drug was costing 700 euros, and it was quite difficult. We never managed to have this drug authorized or going through, because the startup simply disappeared before the end of COVID. I would like to conclude with one thing that you need to be really aware of. We spend 1 trillion every year on healthcare. So unless we apply AI, as was mentioned here, unless we go with some tools, our expenditure will be totally unsustainable. So AI is better treatment, because it's personalized, but it's also sustainable economically. This is why we would like to have digitalization with all the tools. It's not just AI, all the tools that come down from the digitalization more and more used in Europe.
Thank you, Sandra. Boy, I'm happy that we're recording this session with this first promise. But I think right now we don't have very much time, so I will skip my questions. You have given us so many good materials. I see already the good questions here. And next question I would like to ask from you, Alexander. That taking into account what Sandra said here and about the European digital health data space, so now let's speculate. Can you speculate how long it will take for private sector R&D to be able to access to the health data space and to advance the innovation from there?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And there's two ways of answering it. One is how ready are we? Right? Because we are ready for yesterday. And the other one is how it will pan out and by when. And the reason why I'd say that we are ready yesterday is because I think it's important to share how much of AI and digitalization is already taking place in the world that I'm living in within the drug development company. So when we think about drug development, it's important to realize there's a likelihood of failure that can reach 90%. So there's a lot that goes into solutions that won't see light of day. And the time span to develop a drug in average is 10 years. And the same way that our healthcare system is going to be sustainable, this is not sustainable. So AI is penetrating through all the angles and the digitalization through all the angles to accelerate this. And it's already happening. And it's happening since the discovery, so since the discovery of compounds, with the use of digital twin technology, with the use of simulations. It's happening for the design of clinical trials, for the better identification of patients, and finally, with the ability to diagnose better, because it's diagnosing better and diagnosing more to bring the right drug to the right patient at the right time. So currently, my team is working on digital solutions to help patients to understand side effects before they feel them. So there are significant side effects in some drugs, as we all know, especially cancer drugs. And if we have the ability of identifying those side effects before the patient has perception that they're going to happen, that allows people to be at home instead of being under the surveillance at the hospital, so decreasing the health cost expenditures and the uncomfortable for the patient to be in the hospital in a safe environment. So that's the goal of some developments that we are doing. And it's also important to introduce that this means that in a lot of cases, we're going to be seeing drug with device, drug with technology associated to that. So it's also the reason why I'm bringing this, it's because it's important to associate if our regulatory bodies are looking at this in this way, so we can have the regulation prepared for devices, has devices adjunctions to drugs. And this is changing so fast. The conversation that we're having today is not a conversation from 1 year ago. And that's also into your pointers of being positive, right, on the positive note, because it has been a speed of understanding because of the technology readiness and because of our overall ecosystem readiness. Because we are starting to use AI in our phones and we are used to it and we are less scared. And we are changing the scope of what really can be for the good of the society. So long story short, I would speculate that the private sector is ready. Is ready to use and eager and looking forward to it. So hoping that we can address it for tomorrow. That's my goal.
Okay. As the time is ruthless, then I think we only short answers can have now.
Okay. Yeah.
That I was looking at Vitenis, you like very passionately also spoke about the skills what we need and different gaps what we have, and then here is the question that what strategies should Europe implement?
Can I answer first question?
The first
Can
question?
you speculate how long it will take for private sector R&D to
you want to have Alexander question instead of that, yeah? Okay,
Look,
I let you choose you.
I can tell you.
But the short
Very
answer.
short, very short. I have in my hands draft proposal. I can hand over to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
My idea is now to present to you draft and proposal. Let's see what can we do. We have a letter report, which called much more than market report. And let us stress the importance of research and innovation in driving the single market future success. A core proposal is the introduction of a fifth freedom, the freedom for movement of knowledge. Second, Draghi report. Draghi report proposed a vision for a more dynamic, innovative and sustainable European economy. It calls for establishing a research and innovation union, fostering public and private collaboration and investing in cutting-edge technologies and world-class innovation hubs in life science. And third one is Hayter report.
Yeah.
Align, act, accelerate. And Hayter report said, a roadmap to strengthen Europe's R&DC ecosystem ensures that Europe remains at the forefront of scientific and technological progress to address pressing societal challenges and drive sustainable growth. It calls for a mission-oriented approach to research and innovation. And I am proposing to establish ecosystem based on European reference networks. Now we have 1,600 hospitals. We have more than 28 pathologists united. I am calling you, please join us. And I am hand over this our draft proposal because we are ready to discuss those issues and in 1 year to establish pan-European ecosystem, inviting digital, inviting all actors together, pharma and so producing new technologies, new devices, new orphan drugs, testing our genomic situation, joining. We have a lot of elements in our hands. Only one way, political will and act, and in 1 year we can establish this, such ecosystem.
Thank you, Vitenis. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it seems for me that right now is the moment that having like giving a letter to Santa Claus or giving out the requests. So I would like to give a similar possibility then for you, Amira and Alexander, that if you can make like one very, let's say, concrete request to policymakers, what it would be, both of you, because Vitins already did his one.
May I make 3, and that will be in a short
one.
Yeah. Investing in the infrastructure. Important more than ever in order to make all the topics that we have talked about reality. And that includes also upskilling the workforces. The second thing is regulatories. We don't need any regulatories anymore, if I might say it this way. We need a vision together as Europe in order to align pharma, medtech, and all the stakeholders create this ecosystem. But for that, no further regulation, but cutting the red tape. And the last one, my last wish would be incentivize innovation, because we need another mindset. If we compare ourselves to other geographies, we need another mindset in order to tackle the challenge that we have, and that to making innovation something which is really serving for us.
Thank you. Alexandra?
Thank you. I follow what Mira said. I fully agree with the 3 asks, so I feel very fortunate that I can add to it. Because, so I would like to link first off with the digital infrastructure and bring it further to the digital literacy of the population. I'm very passionate for patient empowerment, and the patient of tomorrow is not a patient of today, and the patient should be really well informed. They are their best advocate, and they will know more than the healthcare providers that they will see when they start there. So that digital literacy is something that I think it's really important overall. And the other angle, it's really on the regulatory scope of medtech and the addition of digital as a medical device to the component of the medicine itself. We should expect that the drug can come with something that is not just a drug. And that space needs to be easier to navigate so patients can benefit further, and the overall European Union can benefit faster of the innovation that can happen here and all across the globe.
Thank you. I think it's only fair when I give a short comment word to Sandra that what you do with these proposals and requests.
So let me be very clear. EHDS is a revolutionary piece that nobody has and we will have, and it's going to somehow impact on the single market. Do we want to speak numbers? Do we want to speak money? So the private sector will have a boon, and we need to somehow levy on this boon whatever is needed for the health systems. Because I repeat, our health systems are not in a good state of health in the sense that their sustainability financially is quite difficult. So we need to find a way to dialogue. So we are creating something revolutionary. No one else will have it. We will exploit it. The second thing you need to bear in mind is that this will require a lot of trust. And the trust, we have a double game here. Some countries are particularly worried about cybersecurity, for medical devices in particular. We want to say that there is a very clear vetting in this respect, and that there should not be panic discussions concerning the medical devices and cybersecurity. On the other hand, this is an angle that we definitely need and want to cover if this is something that the member states experience as a problem. What they experienced as a problem for sure is the ransom attacks on their health systems, be it hospitals or others. So on that we have acted. First piece of legislation of the Ursula II, I would say, President von der Leyen, a new mandate. It was cybersecurity in hospitals. I'm very proud that we were really the first. We worked throughout Christmas. So we are not sleeping. We are having quite a lot of work. At the end of the day, it's also a problem of uptake on the other end, meaning you do not have still your electronic, I would say, a recipe readable here because a member state is not taking up My Health at EU. We hope this will soon happen. It's not a problem of competence only, it's also a problem of, I would say, capacity, training, and so on and so forth. So for me, there are many nuggets of gold, including the ERNs, but let me say, for us now, the real problem is getting out all the tertiary legislation to get all the member states to be able to, by law, do what they need to do.
Thank you, Sandra. As you see that...
Oh, to you.
So, yeah, for concluding, as you see, time flies very fast when you're together with the bright people. And we could speak already longer. What I hear here is that, let's say that the technology isn't a problem here, or obstacle. Technology is here. We have. So we need more like, let's say, bolder decisions, faster decisions, in order to simplify, in order to start to use technology, and unified decisions.
And money.
That's money. And investments, of course.
We need money.
But money comes with good ideas. If you think simple things, I believe
event that we have on the 18th of March, and perhaps you will have a further flavor of what we want. You know, we are having a big event on digital that is going to be quite big. So come, join
little
us.
promotion also.
But it is very important
our
to stress
discussion. We have a small promotion also here. So
18th
very nice.
of March. I'm waiting for you.
But yeah, as I understand, we are quite passionate because health concerns everybody.
Yeah.
For us, everybody, health concerns us. And with that, I would like to conclude and thank you all for being in this panel.
Bravo, Vitenis. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Practical information to you all that this was the last parallel session. So next sessions will everybody will be on the main hall.
That's the reason.
Best one was here.
That's the reason we were the last. We were the best.
Thank you all, and let's go to the main hall.
Good luck to you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Especially good luck to us.
Excellent.
the new administration. And I believe that the best possible answer from the European Union is to start invest in infrastructure, to invest in